Hello, everybody. Welcome to Also Rusty Buckets. We are in playoff day one, and I'd say it's a pretty damn good day. There are 4 games today that I'll talk about. I will say there's a chance my voice kind of falls through during this video because I did I was just doing a Zoom call with a bunch of my friends for the entirety of the playoffs today. So plenty of time. The first game was at 2 and it's 1 a.m. So I spent like 10 hours hanging out with people, and we weren't talking 24/7, but there was plenty of talking, so my voice might be a little shot. So this time around I decided to do notes, and I think I might actually adopt the Funky Diabetic on his main channel model. He decided to do 2 different videos, and he might end up doing a third one about the Blazers. If he does, it's not out right now, the Blazers Nuggets game. But I might just do 2 videos every day on this channel first, because obviously more videos equals more views, which makes sense. But also, I don't know that I will necessarily have the time to cover every playoff game in the depth that I would like it to in a video, without each of these videos ending up being 20 minutes long. And at that point, it'd just be better off splitting it up. But I did make notes so that I can hopefully be as efficient as possible. Real quick, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I'm going to be doing playoff content covering pretty much every playoff game. I might miss a few games here or there. I'm not planning on watching Wizards versus Sixers tomorrow because it interferes with my workout schedule. But for the most part, most playoff games are going to be covered on this channel, so subscribe, especially if you're subscribed to the main channel. Anyways, with that out of the way, Bucks versus Heat. This was probably the best game of the day, which is a little unfortunate because while you might see this as a close score and a game that ends on a game winner in overtime, that means it's the most amazing game ever. It was one of those like kind of boring close games, and it was like that because the whole game was kind of a disaster, and not necessarily in a good way. Both of these teams were struggling in their own ways. The Heat actually weren't really bringing their wall defense in this one as much as you would think. They still would double Giannis at times and things like that, but for the most part, it was not the wall as you know it from last year and from the year before with the Raptors. It was not as much that, even though Giannis still struggled. And really, Giannis just missed a couple of bunnies at the basket in this one. There was also one offensive foul that I thought was complete bullshit on Duncan Robinson, but I also didn't get to see a replay on it, so could be speculating there, and if I actually saw a replay, it'd be fine. Other things on this one, Giannis was defending Jimmy, and he did a pretty good job doing that. Jimmy had a terrible game today overall, even though he hit the shot that sent it into overtime, but it was a bad game for the most part. Brook Lopez is not it. He, at the start of the game, Duncan Robinson got 3 3-pointers in like 5 possessions, and Funky just uploaded a video on the Blazers. So, I'm probably just going to be breaking these down into 2 parts every day unless there's not that many games. So, handoffs from Duncan Robinson to from Bam Adebayo, and Brook Lopez kept dropping on these, and you can't do that. You just straight up can't do that. And I was interested in Bam in this matchup specifically against Brook Lopez because Brook is not the best defensively, especially on the perimeter. He's very good at just being a big body and putting his arms up, but that is about it. And he was doing drop coverage on Bam as well. Bam was in around the mid-range area, and he was just like all the way sunken into the paint or right next to the basket. And Bam was taking these mid-range shots, and they were iffy as whether or not they went in. Overall, Bam did have a bad game. So you could come from the perspective of, hey, he picked his poison, and Bam took the less high percentage shot, and what happens, happens. I understand that perspective, but that's literally just admitting a weakness with Brook Lopez and just saying, I'd rather have him do this with his weakness than him do that with his weakness, which is defending up on Bam, and then he's able to get by him every time. At the end of the day, I think Brook Lopez and the Bucks, I think he's a little overrated on that team, and I would like to just see more Giannis at center. Anyways, moving on from that, on the Heat side of things, like I said, Jimmy Butler was not good. Tyler Hero was terrible. I don't even know if he played like at all in the second half, because he played in the first half and it was horrible. I'm actually going to check the box score real quick because I'm not even sure. Did he score? I'm not sure if he scored. He had 10 points. Oh, he got to the line a bit and he hit threes. Okay, that's fair enough. 2 for 10, and he played 19 minutes, so I'd wager he played very little in the second half, especially not in overtime and late in the fourth or anything like that. He was just real bad in this one, and people were clowning on him, rightfully so. A few questionable calls. There was a travel call, or there was a question of whether or not Giannis traveled before he was fouled, and I didn't really know on that one, but I saw that was controversial, and this was late in the game. Jimmy made a layup on Giannis to send it into overtime, and then in overtime, there was a play that I think, even though Middleton won the game on a game winner as the Heat were able to tie it up with a Dragic 3 in the corner, I really feel like the game was lost when Ariza made a bad decision. There was a loose ball off of a rebound, so it was a long offensive rebound, and there was a chase to get it. And instead of trying to get back on defense, Ariza tried to get the long rebound when he was very clearly not going to be getting it. And as a result, Drew Holiday got it. After all that, Ariza is now behind on Holiday. He actually does a good job of catching up, but not fast enough. Drew Holiday gets the layup, and I really think that's when they lost the game. Of course, they ended up tying it, but just if you don't make that mistake, Drew Holiday likely does not score on the break, and that three-pointer from Dragic or whatever happens after gives you a lead rather than tying the game. And then Chris Middleton doesn't hit the shot that he does, which, speaking of it, Chris Middleton was really bad in the first half of this game, but the second half he was phenomenal, like completely flipped the switch. So fantastic from him on that perspective. Drew Holiday played a good game. Giannis missed a lot of fucking free throws in this one. I almost forgot to mention that. And that was really big. Like I've mentioned before, as much as people give Giannis shit for his mid-range and three-point game, if he was just an 85% free throw shooter, the problems with Giannis would decrease significantly. Not having the jumper would still be a problem, but not as bad as the free throws. He hit like one free throw out of 4 in the clutch, which is not good. That's definitely not good. He overall for the game was 6 for 13 from the line, and a lot of those came very late in this game. Luckily, didn't end up mattering as the Bucks win this one. I also will say, in terms of the walled type defense, because they didn't really lean too heavily into it, Giannis was not forced as much to make decisions, and when the little instances of it came up, Giannis did make the right decisions. So I definitely was pretty satisfied with that. But I got to move on now to the Mavs versus Clippers games. I will say for the next two games after this one, I wasn't paying as much attention as I maybe should have to really cover it as to the extent that I would like to, so that'll hopefully prevent this video from being 20 minutes, but who knows. So first of all, Mavs versus Clippers, I missed the first quarter because the overtime prevented everywhere I was looking from covering the game, so I couldn't see that. But conveniently, after missing the first quarter, I checked the box score, and Pandemic P is 1 for 7. And I say Pandemic P because that was trending number 1 on Twitter when I went on Twitter. He also had 3 air balls, apparently, based on what people told me in my mentions. But that could be some level of untruth to that. I don't fucking know. Next note that I put here on the Notes app, Luka, holy fuck. He had 22 6-6 or 22 4-4, something like that at the half. He didn't play as amazing in the second half, but really that was because the Clippers were giving Luka, or they weren't giving Luka the drives, and instead he was getting open assists from so many three-point shooters, and that was really the story of this game. The reason why the Clippers lost this one, really, above all, is that the Mavs won by the 3, and the Clippers died by it. The Mavericks shoot 47% from 3 and make 17 of them. The Clips shoot 27% and make 11 of them. The one real negative, though, for the Mavericks, and he was also trending on Twitter as a result of this, Kristaps Porzingis. Kristaps 7-3 for nothing Porzingis. I got 1,000 likes on that tweet. Pretty happy with that one. Just terrible in this one. He did have the dunk that was pretty much the game, like the nail in the coffin dunk, but after that, he was just not playing well. 4 for 13 in this one, 1 for 5 from 3. A lot of just unnecessarily difficult shots. I said in my analysis of this series, like picking my prediction was Clippers in 5, and the reason for that was I did not expect Porzingis to play well. Now, he didn't play well in this one, and the Mavericks obviously still won, but I really think that's because the Clippers shot incredibly bad despite being the best three-point shooting offense in the league, and the Mavericks shot so crazy well offensively, way more than they typically would. And I thought that there would be a game that the Mavericks win, and I'm still kind of sticking to my 5-game prediction in this series. After this, I might be a little bit more likely to go to 6, and I wasn't strong in my prediction of 5. I was like 5, probably if I was playing it safe, I'd say 6. but yeah, this is just a very clear difference between who was hitting threes and who wasn't. And just a 10-point difference and all of that. That's something I will say on the Clippers side of things. The rim pressure, they just were not pressuring the basket at all. Like, it got to a point where it's like, hey, you die by the three, you're only making your death worse by taking more bad threes, and they just weren't dropping. Not to be like the old man yelling at clouds thing where I'm like, you're taking too many threes. I can't stand when old NBA fans do that, but they were actually genuinely just taking so many difficult three-point attempts, and it's like, at this point, dude, they're not dropping. Go to the basket. At least get a cleaner look from three by attacking the basket. They just were not doing that. Another thing I want to mention real quick in my prediction of the Mavericks-Clippers series is I said that what the Clippers cannot do is allow Luka to get switches on him. Now, in this game, there was a Serge Ibaka appearance. I might have missed those minutes. Wait, no, I did see him briefly. I guess I just forgot about it. But he didn't play as many minutes as Zubac. That's interesting. I guess they were running a lot of small ball. Yeah, they were running I think they ran Morris at center at some points. But yeah, they were running small in little bits here. But I think that was really to combat the amount of switches that were happening. I'll say, in fairness to Zubac, which is the main one that I'm thinking of, he actually got Luka in the two specific instances I'm thinking of. I think he got by him on another one, but the ones I'm thinking of, step back three from Luka. Luka shot very well in this game from 5 for 11 from outside, and he also had a mid-range shot. And you might make the argument, hey, this was a difficult shot, but like, he got the rhythm of it flawlessly because Zubac was a step behind. Not the best opportunity out of having that switch, but still, clean looks, and you just can't let that happen. I think that's the reason why they didn't play as much big man minutes, just because, like, hey, I'd rather have other forwards out there who can defend Luka, and it's not like the Mavericks are a big interior presence team. Like, technically their center, Maxi Kleber, is checking Kawhi Leonard on the perimeter. This is not a team that's relying on traditional bigs. And like I said, Kristaps Porzingis is 7-3 for nothing. Also, shout out to Tim Hardaway and Jalen Brunson, who both played really well. After that, for Celtics versus Nets, this is actually a surprisingly good game for like the first half, and the Nets kind of came away with it, which is what I was expecting. Then they started off with Kevin Durant at center, which I thought was interesting. I guess you could maybe argue Blake was at center, but either way, Blake Griffin at center is also kind of interesting. Not as many Nicholas Claxton minutes as I would have liked to have seen. Nick Claxton is definitely worthy of the start and worthy of at least 25 minutes a game. He got 11 in this one. And I guess Blake Griffin was listed at center for this one. But it was mostly Jeff Green played most of the center minutes in this one, which makes sense. Especially being that the Celtics are not, like, once again, not a team that has some interior center that's like terrifying or anything like that. But this game ended up being a relatively even split between the big three. But at the start of it, it was not, and it was like a little struggle to determine who was shooting the ball, and not the best shots in the world because the offense wasn't flowing together. And this is something I mentioned. It's like, I don't know why people just have dismissed the notion of there potentially being a little bit of chemistry issue with the big three, not because of selfishness or anything like that, just simply because they haven't had too many reps actually playing all three of them together. And there was a little bit of that in today's game. That being said, the Nets are ridiculously talented, and after the Celtics started off hot with both Kemba Walker and Jason Tatum just not being able to miss, it proceeded with both of them being able to miss quite a bit. To be fair to Tatum, not favorable defensive situation. They were just all the way loading up on him. And Kemba, he started the game hitting some difficult shots. I was like, fuck, are we going to get a good Kemba game? We did not get a good Kemba game. He finished shooting 31% from the field. And, as good of an effort as they had from the rest of the players on this team, if Tatum and Kemba have bad games when you don't have Jaylen Brown on the roster, you're not going to take a game off of the Nets, even if the Nets have a bad game, which I'd say they did. 104 points on a not amazing defense is pretty bad for this offense, but it didn't matter because Celtics only scored 93. I also have to shout out Robert Williams, nearly a triple-double with blocks in just 22 minutes of action. Give this guy the starting spot. Why the fuck does he play less minutes than Tristan Thompson? Tristan Thompson is not better than Robert Williams at anything except for maybe offensive rebounding. Everything else, I'm giving Robert the edge. Maybe he's better at dribbling unnecessarily and taking a dumb floater type shot that he has no business taking, which is not a positive thing, obviously. But Robert Williams with 11 points, 9 rebounds, and 9 blocks in 22 minutes and 40 seconds of action. 5 for 11 from the field. Also, I should mention Jabari Parker. I was watching this game with Noah Terranova, who is a Celtics fan, and immediately I was like, why the fuck is Jabari Parker in the game? Scored 9 points, and his defense wasn't good, but it's Jabari Parker. You take what you can get. And he made the good point that was like, I'd rather Jabari Parker play than Grant Williams. So, hey, valid point. But yeah, that was the game. Really, it was just like if Tatum and Kemba are going to play poorly, then they're not going to take a game off the Nets, even if the Nets play poorly. Other than that, there was a little bit of a note here I put about both James Harden and his off-ball ability, as well as the Celtics rotations. They were not staggering Tatum and Kemba, which I thought was questionable, but also for this James Harden thing, this is not going to matter in this series, but James Harden fell into an old habit on one play I saw in particular, and I'm not necessarily going to act like this one play just highlights everything, but he passed the ball to Kevin Durant to attack from like the mid-post, and he faced up and attacked off the dribble from there, or it was really the high post, not the mid-post, and James passed it to Durant and like retreated all the way to like the hash mark, like nearly like halfway between half court and the 3-point line, all the way on the left. And this is something he's done before. This is the thing I don't like about James Harden is if you're not going to do anything off ball, at the very least, just spot up at the 3-point line. Like, why are you going to nearly half court and then you've just turned the possession into a 4-on-5? Of course, your defender is not going to completely leave you, but if you're standing all the way over there, he has license to go and bring help defense where it makes sense. So, yeah, that was just very questionable and very annoying. Blazers versus Nuggets, I'll be real, I was not paying enough attention to this game. This is the one that I was like really not paying much attention in. I really only paid attention to some little instances here. Really, the third quarter when Dame started to heat up, as well as the fourth quarter. And at that point, the Blazers were up around 12 going into the fourth quarter. The Nuggets were up for most of this game, and then in the third quarter, Dame, though it was close, Dame just went on a run, and he ended up getting his shooting numbers where he started like 1 for 7 or something like that. He got his numbers back up, and he ended up having a good game. I mean, the box score would tell you he shot 40%, but it was a night and day difference between the first quarter and really the first half and the second half. He finishes 40% from the field, but 34 and 13. Good game from him. CJ with the good game. Carmelo had a very good game off of the bench. Anytime I looked up, Melo was hitting some sort of mid-range shot or whatever. Also, Anthony Simons played well. And if I just look at the box score and try to evaluate just based on that, which I don't like to do, but I had Asher as well in the Zoom call, and he was like, you're like, if MPJ goes 1 for 10 from 3, they're not going to win. And I don't expect him to do that again. And I also don't expect Aaron Gordon to take as many questionable shots and just shots that probably should have gone in but didn't, as they did in this game. But yeah, that is it for the playoffs today. I'm not going to bother too much, but looking at the runtime and the fact that I had to rush through some shit that I would like to elaborate on, I'm probably going to be splitting these up. If I look at it, the games for tomorrow are going to be, I'll probably do a Lakers Suns video and then one on the Hawks Knicks and Grizzlies Jazz series. I also have no idea what I'm going to title this one, so let's find out. Anyways, that's it. Goodbye.